right, here we go. Episode 1 of Close to Nowhere, the video version. As most of you may not be aware, this show started off as a radio show on the humble Recharge Radio UK network almost 10 years ago now, with Jordan and Jamie, yourselves, good sirs. Welcome to the show.
Waves. Hello.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good to be here, finally.
Absolutely. It's funny because the origins were as a radio show, and we've never actually really verbally been in touch until maybe 2 months ago, and from when we started 10 years ago. So it's a bizarre thing that we're actually doing this now. An awesome thing, but a bizarre thing.
Yes, yeah, it is. But it's I think the time is right, and I suddenly realised, just look, because this is the thing about radio. You can see what you're actually up to. And I've just chucked a plate behind me, and I'm looking at it, just going, I can see that plate. There's a slice of toast left on that. I'm just going to.
We never had these problems on the radio, did we?
Somewhere else. No, you didn't. You didn't see the crisp packers chucked over your shoulder, or the empty beer can strewn about the room, or maybe the bottle of whiskey that was. Do you know we never did whiskey on the radio. We did a lot of wine. On your show,
that's
a
lie.
My show tended to
that's
be,
a lie. We did actually do radio. We did actually do whiskey on the radio. We did.
Did we?
Oh, really?
When was this?
Do you know who it was that brought us into the whiskey? It was an Australian. Can't you remember? I'm trying to remember his name. I'm trying to remember his name now.
Was it John Drake?
No. I'm gonna have to find out who this is. You guys,
this is
keep
embarrassing.
Talking. Yeah, but we drank copious amounts of whiskey that night, and it was a show that started pretty well, but by the end of it, I can't even remember how it finished. I'll be honest with you.
Oh, I know who it was. He's a complete stoner. What was? Oh God, Beard. He doesn't do this anymore. He's not a stoner. He went to work for an internet startup thing, and now he's like a sort of respectable person.
He's been doing lots of music recently, and that's the worst thing. I've been watching.
I completely can't think of his name. That's really bad, isn't it? Yeah, but I do remember who you were talking about. Now I also remember maybe it's but good. I don't remember this name. I'm not embarrassing the poor chap, but we used to do these nights down at a place called Half Moon in Putney Bridge, which he used to organise, Jim. And he played one of those, and I have no idea just how much he'd smoked before he'd gone on stage, because he just kept on asking for more reverb, more, and eventually the whole thing was just like echoing. Just the whole
That's brilliant.
The audience sort of were going, "Oh yeah, this is funny. This is. Oh, you're just so stoned."
To be fair, as you said, like when we were on radio, there were occasions where, as you said, there were a few plates like stacking up in the corners. The place used to stink of just sort of men. I remember your wife coming in, just going, "Oh, it just smells in here," and there would always be a pot of coffee on the go. I know that you're not drinking coffee these days, are you, George? You've calmed that down.
Yeah. Well, I've turned the dial down. If it was on 11 to use that infamous. Famous quote. It's now on maybe about 1.5. I'm actually. I have a full blown coffee in there. Look, you can see it. You see, there it is. I've turned that way down. It's now maybe 1 or 2 cups a day, occasionally if I'm in the mood, rather than 3 or 4 pots a day to function.
There you go.
Coffee's a drug, kids. Coffee's a drug. Shouldn't abuse it.
No,
so anyway, this is all sort of on the back of the which apparently we can't even talk about on YouTube. Even they got funny about talking about it, didn't they? And they tried to censor everybody that was talking about it. Did you guys know this? This is the thing. Yeah, they didn't want people spreading it. So everybody's calling it the beer bug or things. People I've been listening to. So even now, there's a bit of a thing where you can't talk about the thing that's everybody's has been affected everybody's lives. So you still can't really talk about it. So yeah, this comes on the back of that. And you've got a music video here that you put together for a band that you've been working with. Is that right, Pete?
That's right. So yeah, we can't talk about it. Let's just show it then, shall we? This
yes.
It's an artist I had in the studio recently, Dr. Cousin Friends. It's a solo artist who gets a lot of musicians around him to produce these songs and basically play with him, hence the and friends. So Dr. Cousin Friends. And this is his song called Locked Up. So I hope you enjoy it.
Locked up. Locked up.
So there you go. That's Locked Up by Dr. Cuz and Friends. And there'll be links to all these videos that we're going to show. Also, things we're going to talk about in the description below. So go check them out when you get your chance, but it's not yet. Watch this first, then you can check it out later.
And hasn't that video just been nominated?
It has for the best music. It's been nominated for best music video at the Hollywood Golden Pictures or Golden something Awards, which is very cool. Very
Amazing.
very cool for
That's
some humble little
prestigious,
Perthians.
Yeah, considering that it had to be a very minimal cast with the whole thing.
That's right.
It's very much on a budget, but it's got some lovely drone footage in that. I tell you what, you could do if it doesn't, if it falls flat on its face with the awards and all that sort of stuff. All you got to do is then sell the drone footage to the Perth Western Australia Tourist Board, and then
that's right.
Oh, look at that wonderful beaches,
Exactly,
which
empty,
are
but they're
mostly
wonderful.
deserted. Deserted golden sands.
That's right, which is bizarre. Very
they
bizarre.
won't be deserted. But this is what they look like when they don't have any people on them.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think we've been very lucky over here compared to a lot of places. I mean, we're still mostly can't go to bars, can't go to pubs. They're starting to open up now. But one thing I noticed, obviously, during this whole thing is just how many artists went online for obvious reasons. They still wanted to play, but they couldn't in person. So they went online. And what I found is that a lot of them were getting a lot more engagement because they were obviously online. It was convenient. People would just go log on and have a look at it. They were getting like 80, 90 hits or like views, rather, live views. The Patreon tip jar, that sort of stuff was happening. Randomly, it just seems to be a very, very good thing to do. I mean, going to a gig, actually, Monday night, 10 p.m., you're playing to a bar staff, there's no one else there. Whereas here, suddenly, they're getting an audience. It's a bizarre sort of juxtaposition.
Yeah, I think I think that's what going to be one of the good things because hey guys, full disclosure, we've done a few runs of this now, so we've talked about this point a few times. But here's the thing: when you talk about a few things, and then you listen back to it and you go, "Huh, you know what? I didn't mention that." And this is something that I was thinking about over the weekend. Is that if now people are used to seeing bands doing gigs online. I'm sure that that's actually going to become a much more popular. If social distancing measures do have to stay in place for a certain amount of time, then there's no reason why more bands couldn't do live streams of their sets.
Totally.
I mean, it would be God. I can. It's great. It's great to do gigs. We're all in bands here. I've been in bands, and actually, Jamie, I don't know what you're doing musically at the moment. I haven't got a clue. Are you? You've played enough. You've done your lifetimes of gigs. I
pick up the guitar every so often. It's in the corner of the room, and if somebody asks me nicely, every so often I'll go and play. You know what I mean? It will be a treat. I'm not going to be doing live streams of music from here, unless of course we run out of material. Then that's it. I'll just pick up a guitar and start playing. That's normally what happens. I think the last time I picked up a guitar was I was pretty drunk, and I'd gone to. You see, this was before lockdown, and I'd gone to a pizza place to order a pizza. Like after you've had too much to drink and you're like, I just want to eat junk food because it's going to fix me. And then you wake up in the morning and half the pizzas, like the pizza box is still on your chest and you haven't eaten any of it. There was a guitar in the corner of the room and I think I went, if I play the guitar, will you give me my pizza for free? And he went, I'll think about it. And then I sat there and I thought, what's a really chirpy tune to play at like 1 a.m. And I played The Drugs Don't Work by the Verve. And
that's an uplifting, beautiful
I think
song.
I had to pay full price for the pizza, but so I am still available. If I've had a few drinks in me, you never know, I might still pick up a guitar. But you're right. But go back to what you're saying is, to be fair, I mean, the thing that we've noticed and what's happened in the UK over the last few days is thankfully that they have actually put together a package to help sustain venues, and because the thing is that a lot of these small venues are really going to struggle on the sort of tail end of that. We've heard details about local venues to where I am that have had sort of steeped to kind of the history of the local music scenes really struggling, and having very, very honest conversations about the fact that they didn't know as to whether they would be able to sustain it through. So it's good to know about that. But as you said, it is positive as well to see that people are engaging, and because so many people still people aren't actually into the sort of back into the 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. We've all been there where you're asked to bring, well, particularly it was very like a London centric thing of you doing a gig in London on a Monday night, and the promoter would say you need to bring like 40, 50 people with you to be able to make money. And nobody
water rat.
yes. And nobody want to come out on a Monday night, No. I mean, but now with everything that they're doing, and also other things that I've seen that are quite positive is like people playing sort of street parties, going out and adhering to social distancing, playing, I mean, if you like music, it's fantastic. If you don't, then perhaps, buy a pair of earplugs and go and hide in your room. But,
there you go.
With that, you've got that opportunity. See, I know, Jord, that you've had a bit of fun with your band adhering to social distancing and making sure that you can continue to rehearse. You found a novel way of being able to do it, didn't you?
Yeah, with the I wouldn't exactly say rehearsals, and more sort of songwriting sessions. Because I think rehearsals would be pushing that one a little bit too far. As much as it would be great to get a full rig outside into the middle of a field. So that's what we did. So we found this place called No Man's Land Common, which isn't as bad as it is. Not like the Somme in 1916. It's not like got craters and barbed wire and legs sticking out the grass. So we've done that a couple of times now, and it's just a very nice way to rehearse. Work on stuff. I don't want to say rehearse it because it's not, but it's much better than going into to a carpeted room on a Monday night with that smells of men. I was like, as you discussed, all studios do, you smell of men. Even if there's a band that's completely staffed by women that's also in there, they probably just end up smelling of men because there's so much men in the rehearsal studios are the best. But so that's been nice. I mean, I put something on Instagram that I could totally get used to it. But I think what that because that's kind of got me thinking about other ways that the bands could actually promote themselves. Because, like you said, Pete, you end up playing to the bar staff a lot of the time. Which is. If you get a good crowd in, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you're up there or you're down there or somewhere in the middle. With if you're playing to a crowd, then that's great. But if you're just playing to the bar staff and you just had to leave work early or travel a long distance or whatever, and you're a bit hungry, you're a bit tired.
Yep.
Your singer's probably drunk because he wasn't driving. If Andy watches this, he knows exactly what I'm saying. But there's a lot of things in there, and unless things go well, then I mean, and even when they do go well, and this is what people don't ever know about gigs, like guys, you play the set, and if it goes really well, everybody goes, yeah, marvelous, and then you go, great. Now I've got to unplug all my gear really, really quickly and stuff it all back in its case, and then sort of run off and sort of do that awkward. Oh, excuse me, just got to take this massive great amplifier out through the crowd because I've got to put it in the car and then we're going to go and it sort of just it does this. The curve of enjoyment of gigs goes. The minute that you play that last chord and it's like I've got to unplug these stuff now, and I've got to make sure all the cables are there, and I've got to make sure that that nobody decides to start half inch my guitar while my back's turned because I'm putting away my pedal board, and it's stuff like that. So I think if you could do more live streamed gigs from wherever, then it makes the gigs that much better, because then it makes the live gigs more of an event rather than just we're playing it because we have to play live, because you kind of control the live setting that you played in. And also I think if you're a bit more relaxed and a bit more chilled out about these things, you play better as a band. So
of course. But and one thing I do miss though about the live thing, I don't know if it happens much at your end, but a lot of the time there'll be mixed genres that play on the same bill. So you might have four bands, and you might get, a couple of folk bands, and then bizarrely there's like a metal band. What I like to do is at the start of the show, I'll look around at the different bands, and just by judging their hair, I decide what sort of genre they're going to play. It's brilliant. And it's 9 times out of 10. The longer the hair, the heavier the music. It's awesome.
Do you know, it's funny you say that. I was having a conversation the other day, and Jordan and I have had this for many years. We've discussed it, and to be honest, it stands exactly the test of time. But you know the chaps, like sort of grebos, those chaps who wear the long black leather jackets and like collars and things like that. I'm pretty sure they're time travelers, because you could be in like 1984 or you could be in the mid-90s, or you could be now. And there's always a bunch of people in their sort of late teens, early 20s, dressed a certain way, long black hair, bit of guy liner and things like this. And it doesn't, and they're normally pulling a sort of sack barrow filled with, certainly in this country, Newcastle brown ale. But have you noticed?
I swear to you, that's the only people that actually buy that stuff.
Yeah.
Because you can't. To use the parochial term, Nuki Brown actually made it across to Australia, or if you rejected it at the border and sent it back.
Maybe, yeah. It doesn't ring a bell. So maybe that was the case.
Yeah, probably best.
Yeah. But it's just one of those things where you do notice, like as you say, you can sort of look round a room, and as much as people go, I mean, it's even like when you go back to the sort of era of punk or whatever, you say to people, "Oh, we're part of our own little gang, and we don't work to a certain style and everything like this." And the thing that I've always found really, really amusing is, irrespective as to whether people have a uniform or whatever, the thing is that when people are together and they've got particular musical interests or whatever, they'll all kind of dress the same anyway, won't they? So you have these little pockets. As you said, it's very easy to walk into a room full of musicians or people who are fans of bands on an eclectic lineup, and you can pretty much pinpoint, you're there for the folk music,
right.
stinking of patchouli and wearing Aran sweaters, you know what I mean? And like, you just sort of walk around the room. Sorry, I've been really judgy there, haven't I? You know what I mean?
Yeah, just a tad. I don't think we've lost any audience members there. Got a feeling those guys probably wouldn't be listening to this, Though people like this is going to be a blast in the past. Do you remember Jesper or Pepper and Shepherd or Shepherd?
Oh,
and Pepper?
love them, yeah.
And I mean,
Peppered Shepherd.
Yeah, they're still going. By the way, but
are they really?
Yeah. Even though James has had more children, I think he's got about 2 or 3 kids now. I might be wrong about that. So they grew up and became adults. Not that they weren't before, actually, because they were actually a lot older than us. They just looked young. But yeah, they could appreciate the irony with the chunky knitwear and all that sort of stuff. So that was.
They were
cool.
always great. They were always great guests on Recharge Radio as well. I'll be honest with you, they were always fantastic. Anyway, I think it's time for another music video.
I agree.
Yes, in fact, while we're on the theme of long hair, here's a band I recorded here in Perth, St. James Sirens, are they called, and this is their song "Manipulants."
Not remember the day of the time, but can you keep longer maintaining this lie? You may not remember the day of the time, but can you keep longer maintaining this lie? Throw you
there you go. That was Manipulants by St. James Sirens, a bit of a prog rock band here in Perth. One thing I wanted to bring up with you guys, I think we might have touched on it a while ago. I personally feel like there's a lot more sort of subgenre stuff going on these days. And I just wonder if it's related to the fact that the need, I don't know, record labels don't tend to have as much of a puppet master control over what the public should be listening to anymore. So bands tend to have that power more in their own hands. So I wonder if it's getting a bit more experimental, a bit more daring, or they're not afraid to try different genres because it doesn't matter. They're not going to make money anyway. They're just going to make the music they like, and and getting on radio these days isn't like the pinnacle of making it anymore. It's like as it was back in the 60s and 70s, So I just wonder, I don't know what you think about that. If the prevalence of the, I guess the internet, making it easy just to promote yourself, has resulted in more subgenres coming into light because the need to make money off your work isn't necessarily driven by the public's interest anymore.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there when you're saying there's no need to make money at it. Just like, well, it's like, just look in here. Yeah. It's a studio. It's literally in this was the garage of the house.
Right.
But you can set yourself up a recording studio. God, even don't need this much space. I mean, there was a thing on Reverb.com a little while ago that they wanted people to send in pictures of their own recording spaces, and some of the spaces that some people have made are absolutely fantastic. You look at them and you go, "That's in your house? That was a room of your house?" Yeah. I mean, they're just way far and above, anything that I could ever create. And we were talking about buying top flight gear, like had Neve desks and all manner of vintage rack mounted. Yeah, it was top stuff. But I mean, if you've got the cash, you can just do it for yourself. But even if you don't, there's ways to to do something in the corner of your bedroom with
totally.
with your laptop, and I think what it's kind of translated down to is that I mean, you said about the 60s and 70s. I think this is very much still prevalent in the early 2000s. Is that you always had that idea that if you wanted to go and do music as a career, you had to go and find somebody that had a label. You can see Jamie's starting to nod at this bit. And you had to find somebody that did all of the booking for you, and yeah, there was a lot of processes, and there was a lot of gatekeepers to kind of what you had to do. But over the last few years, I've got into like a lot of lo-fi, like jazz, funk. God, this is going to sound pretentious as hell. I'm so sorry, but I'm aware of what I'm saying. All right, and just to know that. But there's one guy that has made some waves in that particular world. Is a guy called Jinsang, and he's bringing out all of his. He doesn't do physical releases on CDs, of course, because why would you? But every time that he does a physical release, it's always on vinyl, and they sell because he knows that he's got enough people that are interested in what he does. We're not talking like Taylor Swift kind of levels. We're talking, guy on minor record label that you probably wouldn't have ever heard of anyway. But he knows that he can make these records and sell them a little bit of a margin probably on every single one, but he can make enough money to kind of keep that hobby. I don't know if he does this full time or if it's just a thing that he does, but he sells them and he obviously makes money at it to do more things. And then
I think that exactly this is what you're saying. I mean, I completely get it now. I mean, the thing is these days, and the way I look at it is that because you've only got somebody looking for a small bite of the pie, the fact is that there is an option for them to be able to be sustainable as well. Yeah. I mean, we all know, and certainly from my experience, I remember being in bands, particularly in the 90s. And in the 90s, it was the case that you'd have to go and play all the venues in London, all the crappy places, just basically so that the A&R guys would come and see you. Yeah. These A&R guys were really low level. Nice bunch of people, good to have a drink with. But the fact is that they were so terrified that if they picked a band and then they had to invest the money in bands and those bands failed, then they would lose their job. Yeah. So, they were essentially salesmen. That's what they were trying to do. So they would dangle carrots for people, and you would get so disenfranchised with the whole fact of that, you couldn't you didn't feel that you could make it unless you got signed.
Yep.
Whereas now, as George says, with the options of people being able to, set up their own studios, with people like yourself, Pete, who have, set up not only your own studios but moved into film and video and all these other things. The fact is that it isn't the case now that you need to go to a label, get them to give you an advance for a record, then you've got to try and make that money back. You then got to pay God knows how much to a videographer to put something together, and then there's all that pressure to sell, and then the bands themselves were earning so little off that.
Yeah.
Whereas now, with the opportunities that you have available via, YouTube, via putting audio out there and putting digital downloads and doing all of those things, you don't physically need to invest a load of money, which is great. And I do think that you will get a lot of subgenres from that. The only thing that I'd say the flip side to that is that particularly now, I know it's a bit of a techie term, but you get this sort of global village. I mean, us doing a show, this many miles apart, that's very indicative of where we are now and the really positive of that. But the other thing that you don't necessarily get, although perhaps it is a little different in Perth, is you don't necessarily get those little music scenes that would have loads of different bands and artists playing who would be known very much to the local level. A little bit like what happened in Seattle in the early 90s. Where you had all of these bands who were kind of classed as grunge, which as a term, nobody really understood what it was, but they were all doing very, very different things, as to whether it was sort of hardcore or metal or, other, prog rock stuff. But you don't necessarily get that. And a lot of the time, I think there is although there's a lot of interesting stuff, there's also a lot of stuff which is very samey. I mean, I don't know. I think it's because I think we're middle-aged men now. And I do, if somebody says to me, name X amount of artists from the last 10 years who, have had an influence on music changing, I can't, with the exception possibly of hip hop, I can't really think in mainstream rock and roll anything that has actually changed that.
Sure.
But maybe I'm wrong.
I think there's. I will agree with you on most of those points, Jamie. But I will. Please don't die. Hang on, you coughed.
It's all right. It's
you
all right.
okay?
I'm miles away. It's fine.
Smashing.
I'm locked away.
So I'll agree with you on most of those points. But I think what's actually kind of what is good and what is coming out of all of this is that when you're saying about the things changing and stuff, and it's weird. It actually kind of backs up that saying nothing changes fast. But what I'm finding with a lot of the things that I've been discovering is they're kind of going back into old B-sides and old rarities and things like that, and taking those and then using those as samples and making songs like that. Just like people like De La Soul did back in the early 90s. But it's now there's a lot more people doing that with a lot more records. I don't know what the legalities of this is. If there's going to be a whole heap of lawyers from Warner Chappell going to be chasing these people around the internet for forever because they picked a sample out of a record they just happened to own from 1971 or whatever. But I think what the other nice thing about it, there's a guy. You can look this one up. This guy called MTBRD, and he did a remix of. Or mix, I probably should say, of Ruckus and Chaka Khan, Sweet Thing. Yeah. Mixed with one of the guys from Twin Peaks. And it's called Damn Fine Coffee.
Okay.
And you should. We're not going to play this on the show. You can look this up in your own time. It'll be in the links below.
There you go.
But yeah, it's great.
That's awesome.
But so I think. Because then when you put these things up on the internet, people obviously start commenting on it, and that's the other thing. You get the discourse instantly about tracks, and by and large, I think that there's less trolling as when you would get in if you're talking about the latest thing from Star Trek or Star Wars universe and that sort of stuff, because people have very definite opinions on that. There's more of a kind of discourse about I love that sample. Where is that from? And then people go, oh, well, it's this, that, and the other. So that's why I found out this, because it was a song I'd never heard before, was Ruckus and Chaka Khan. And I thought, I've got to go and listen to the original of that. So I listened to the original of it, and I thought, I've got to own that on vinyl.
That's
so
awesome.
Next thing you know, I'm looking up trying to get a 45 of that on vinyl, and I don't know when the last time they sold one of those copies on. Well, I don't know, maybe this song is suddenly see the spike in.
That's right.
All of the ancient
That catalogue.
You know, yeah, there's only going to be about, I don't know, 2,000 of them in the world or something like that. I mean, but it's not like a rare, you know, unicorn type record. You can pay about a tenner for it.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's great, you know. So we got this thing. It's like, yeah, and I play that to death now.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then you end up sort of going down all these other little rabbit holes that you think, well, if there's that, then what about this and that? And you can follow the links through. But of course, because humans are inherently lazy and you're doing all this sitting by your computer, you just go click,
Yep.
type, click,
Totally.
type, click, type. And the next thing you know, you got a list by the side of you going, I want to buy all these.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you're spending money all of a sudden. But in the very weird way that you're not actually spending money on the person that introduced it to you in the first place, who did all the hard work to introduce it to you. You're now giving it back to the original artist. So I don't know, maybe they're getting their licensing back in a very strange way indeed.
I like it.
I don't know.
So on that, I was going to say on that tip, and us talking about the abilities for people these days to be able to do something completely independently. I think you've got another song, haven't you? But this is actually was this an outtake from
yes.
the film that you put out?
Yeah, this is a clip. It's actually a scene that was going to be in my first feature film, but the scenes revolving around this scene had to be taken out for time restrictions, so this scene couldn't get in there. But I just thought it worked really well as a music video. It's a song I wrote with the artist in the clip. Her name's Fieldsy, and she and I wrote this together. And it also features the vocals of the main character in the film, Glenn Herbert. So yeah, this one here is called Mary's Song by myself and Fieldsy.
know the old boy sits out on his porch at night, while his face tells the story of his life. And there's an empty space beside his rocking chair. He stares at endlessly and into thin air.
Cause every day he wakes, he has the same routine. He has a fresh shave and gives his boots a clean. He leaves a place for her and talks as if she's there. Cause it's been so long now since she walked down those stairs.
Picks a single rose, her favorite color's red,
And every week he lays it on her eternal bed.
everyone you leave me, I'm so alone. This house is empty without you, please come home.
I'll lay a plate for you and watch your favorite show. This life is painful without you. You should know.
Picks a single rose, favorite color's red,
And every week he lays it on her eternal bed.
and everyone you leave me, I'm so alone.
So that was Mary's song by Fieldsy and myself. And I suppose leading on to that point, collaborations. How do you guys feel about them?
You like being stuck in a dark room by yourself, don't you, George? Just with your,
I
with your
love
dark
being stuck in a
thoughts.
dark room by myself. Yeah.
With your dark thoughts and writing your dark lo-fi tunes.
Yeah. Which are then going to be, filmed on a VHS tape with a video. That's shaky camera work with lines going down the screen. Now, it's a funny one. It's like with my what I call the real band, the Tuesday Club. I call them real band because there's like more than one person in them. But it's everybody kind of collaborates to a certain degree in that anyway. But Andy brings the songs along, and then he says, "Well, these are the words. I write the words, and I'll sing them. But as far as the actual structure goes, you guys do what you want. It's very much kind of egalitarian in like that." But that's the way that he works, and it's not the way that I work, because if I try to do collaborations, I'm really bad at them, and I try, but I'm a control freak, so I kind of go, yeah, that's cool, but it's not what I want, and then I try to twist people's, or the weather thing that I don't know if you guys have come to this. I get really impatient because I'm trying to write a thing with a very old friend of mine at the moment that's been literally going on since 2012. It's not like it's an iterative process. It's something that's sort of come back and gone and come back and gone and
at the moment, yeah, I like it. It's only taken 8 bloody years. It's going to be like Chinese. It's going to be like Chinese democracy, isn't it? When it comes out and everybody's like, okay, fair enough.
This took 8 years. Look, it's not 8 years worth of solid work. But the point is, it's like because I came up with a tune and he wanted to write the lyrics for it, and he wrote sort of a verse and a chorus. I thought, this is really, really good. So then it kind of became his song, and I didn't want to do anything with it because it seemed a bit like, just ripping up all of his work and getting involved with it myself too much. So I finished off all the tune of it the other day, and I said, "Hey, Chris, do you want to do the rest of the lyrics?" And I say the other day, that was about 2 months ago, and I was like, I dropped him a note just saying, any chance of those lyrics now? And he's like, yeah, no, I've been slack. Have you written anything? I was like, oh, well, funny enough, yes, I have. So, if he signs those off and it's like, yeah, great, and you can just sing it into your iPhone and whatever, and I'll mix it. But, impatience is my thing.
I've got an interesting take on this collaboration thing, and I'll be honest with you. And, this is terrible because this is going to be the second time in this podcast I'm going to talk about, don't drink alcohol, kids, because it just leads to really, really bad decisions. But, I was trawling through a load of demos that I'd written collaboratively with somebody. I'm going to say this is probably 16, 17 years ago. And there was a particular song that I hadn't realised we'd kept a copy of. And when you listen to something and you're like, wow, that was potentially a turning point. But then the band split up. And what I just want to say is, and I don't know if you've experienced this as well, or maybe this is just me, right? But you can fall out of love with girlfriends, and you can have messy breakups, but nothing is worse than the breakup of a band. I genuinely believe so. I don't know what it is. So I ended up drunkenly, one night last week, sending an email across saying, hey, I found this demo. I know we've not spoken in 15 years, but wouldn't it be fun to just try and get this finished? And then after, the next day I woke up and just felt dirty. It's like the whole concept of I just thought, collaboratively, after you had a few drinks, you think, oh, this song was something that I couldn't have written on my own. So, it was great that we'd started it, but it wasn't completely finished. And I'm like, wouldn't that just be really nice? But then I'm like, wake up the next day and I'm like, oh my God,
no, I've gone back
is
there.
Essentially, that's like a booty call, isn't it?
Said I never would.
It's like calling up at 3 a.m. and saying, hey, I know we split up 3 years ago, but I'm feeling
drunk.
a bit horny. Do you want to come over? So my take on collaboration is, it's a good thing, but sometimes it has a moment, and sometimes, Jamie, you need to let it go. So I do like working collaboratively, but I think and I've said it to you guys a few times already, but this is the first time it's going to hit this first episode. But I tend to find that I'm pretty positive and upbeat in general life, but then when it comes to actually writing music, it's just so depressing. It really is. Right. I listen to my music sometimes and go, oh, dearie me, that doesn't reflect the bubbly, full of sunshine soul that you have. For some reason, every time you put pen to paper, it's just something really depressing or something really deep.
Well,
so collaboration's good because it keeps me a bit more upbeat.
Yeah.
That's what I notice at least.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think with the all the stuff like I said doing with the real band, I'm very glad that Andy writes the lyrics, because stuff that I write, because I just write sort of kind of stream of consciousness. I'm sure a lot of people kind of do the same. They just don't really write about anything at all. Just go, oh yeah, that word rhymes and that word rhymes, and then you sort of look at it and go, oh God, is this what my subconscious says about me? And you look at it, oh yeah, these words rhyme, but they're dark. They should have folded up and go,
not that.
yeah, put that over there. Make sure nobody finds it.
I mean, to be fair, this is probably another conversation for another day. But another thing that I've noticed from my experience of writing is sometimes I get so pretentious. I don't mean to be. I mean, I wrote a song a couple of years ago about somebody's relationship with their phone. In my head, it was kind of like Black Mirror, and then nobody understood it. I sort of put like a line, and when I hold you in my hands, hoping you might understand. And I'm thinking, yeah, this is deep. People will understand this. Just sort of sitting there, like, looking over social media and thinking, I'm going to get all the answers. Nobody understood it. They just thought it was a throwaway line about somebody in a difficult relationship. You see what I mean?
That's great.
I can't write. I can't do it. Yeah. Yep. Apart, George can stay locked up in his room with his VHS.
I think I will. I think that's where it should stay. Really. Yeah. I do envy the people that can, because I'm really, really bad about this. Every so often I think, oh, should I put this out in the I can't. I can do this stuff. I can sit here all day long and just go, I'll talk about crap, and you guys, and probably have people just going, what's he on about? And people say about Jamie, what's he on about? And say about people, who cares? Comments. By the way, if you want to comment on this, we probably won't read them because we don't really care.
We say that.
If you want to send us a nice message, we'll probably read that. But if you just go, oh, you're a bunch of wankers, then it's like, fine, okay, cool, we're a bunch of wankers.
Yeah,
we'll never meet you.
To be fair, with me, I'd go. Yeah, you got a point.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
You can think that if you wish. That's all.
Yeah, whilst you sit in your dark room writing like solemn songs about how you've been hurt by the internet. I can imagine that happening.
Oh, the internet ruined my Tuesday for an hour.
Tuning it down to a D. Yeah. I can see you doing that. Oh, I'm going to go down to a D.
Oh, well,
on the subject of D, I think this is probably our opportunity to finish up this first episode.
Absolutely.
You see what I did there?
That was great.
You liked the link there, didn't you?
Yeah. Leave it on a depressing note. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, D. It's Origins again, way back in 2010. So, this started off as just a radio play. Just audio of a fictitious, receptionist at my studio and her dealings with potential clients, and they're calling in and asking about it. I've turned it into an animation, so we'll end on that and see what you think of this. Look, like I said before, any links to what we've talked about will be in the description below. And of course, if you want to follow us, go to the channel, subscribe to it, and then you'll get the next notification for the next show. So, Jordan, Jamie, thank you very much. We shall leave it there.
See you next week.
Hello, Scudley Records. This is D speaking.
Oh, yeah, hi. I just got my recording back from your producer.
Oh, yes? Okay, very good.
Well, nah, it's not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's too quiet.
Oh.
Yeah, I just played Dead or Alive by Bon Jovi, and then I played my track, and it's way quieter. This is not good enough.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Do you know if the track's been mastered yet?
What do you mean, mastered?
So did the song have the title with unmastered at the end of it?
Unmastered? So you mean you made it quieter on purpose?
No, sir, sorry. Unmastered
Why
means...
would you make it quieter on purpose? I want it nice and loud like a normal song.
No, sorry, please. I'll explain. You see, mastering is when you...
Hey?
Well, it's hard to explain, but basically, your recording engineer, the one who recorded you, they record the song, and then they give it to a mastering engineer, a different person, and they make the song...
Why can't the recording guy do it?
See, he would provide you with the track that's been recorded, and then you get it mastered.
He didn't mention anything about mastering.
Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. Yeah, basically what happens, you come in and you record your song, and the engineer provides you with an unmastered version. Usually, it's $150 per song to be mastered professionally.
No, hang on. Your ad said $300, gives you no time limit, all the song recorded from beginning to end.
Well,
so it should include the mastering. What's this $150 extra?
No, sir. The recording is separate to mastering.
Nah.
It's a choice you can make if you'd like to get it mastered.
You're telling me that this song isn't finished?
It's finished, but it's just not mastered yet.
is stupid. All I want is the song to be louder. It's not harder to turn it up, is it? I mean, come on.
Oh, well, it's a bit more involved than just turning it up, you see. You have to...
Get it. I want my money back.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sure we can come to an agreement, sir.
Yeah? Well, I'm going to go to Consumer Affairs. This is nonsense.
No, sir, that's not necessary. This obviously was a mix-up in the communication. I tell you what, we'll provide the mastering free, just for this once off, because obviously it was not communicated to you. But moving forward, when you get a song recorded, the price only includes the recording, not the mastering.
Oh, so you're saying I should be grateful that you're giving me the free mastering? You should have included it in the first place.
Look, it's very simple. The recording engineer records your song, mixes it, and then sends you what we call an unmastered version.
Nah.
Yeah, and then you can get it sent to a mastering engineer, and they take the track, a quiet track, and they make it sound bigger, and they sound louder and fuller. It doesn't just make the volume louder,
Look,
it makes everything...
all I want is to have the song louder. It's not that
Sir,
hard, is it?
if you just listen to me, I'm trying to
Hey,
explain...
calm down. I'm just trying to tell you my problem with my recording experience.
No, but-
Frankly, you've been very unhelpful, and I'm going to call Consumer Affairs. This is a scam. Goodbye.
Oh! Such a fucking moron!